I never thought about quitting like during the training. Like there was never a time where I'm like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. I can't take it anymore. This is so cold. I got to go, quit. It was never like that. The only time I ever thought about quitting was after that last roll for the pneumonia. I was in between classes. I was waiting to class back up, and I was driving in my car to go get, coffee and a breakfast burrito. And I had the heat on, I had my hoodie on, I had my board shorts on, flip flops, and I'm like comfy, and I'm driving in my car, and I was just thinking about how I had to do this again, like from the beginning. This is like the worst case scenario. It's like I'm back to the beginning, day 1-1. I got to do all that over. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's not easy. It sucks. It's like you don't get. It's not like you get stronger or you know used to it or adjusted. It's still just as hard, and you don't get the luxury of your body like staying strong and staying in shape, because buds, it's not a place you go to get in shape. Like you actually get broken down and beaten. That's why there's so many medical rolls, medical drops. Is like you're getting hammered before you go to buds. You got to make sure you're in like the best shape you can be in, right? And you do that by whatever, CrossFit, running, swimming, lifting, lunges, things like that. But you do it in a controlled setting, like your gym, or a track to run, or a pool to swim, or whatever. But like running on soft sand in boots and long pants when you're soaking wet and covered in sand, that's not like you're getting faster or stronger. It's like, this sucks, and it's like I got to keep up. I got to like pass. I got to not just keep up and pass, but I got to like perform and excel, right? I got to be like ahead of the pack, ahead of the herd. Thinking about having to go through all that again, and knowing that I'm not like at the peak I was, because before I went back to buds, like that was the one thing about Gitmo, was like it kept me like I was able to train a lot. And so when I went back to buds, I was like, that was the strongest, fastest, leanest, meanest I'd ever been. I was fresh, I was ready to go. And that was actually what really sucked about getting rolled, is because I'm like, man, I just put my body through, 4.5 weeks of like torture. And now I'm not at my peak anymore. And if anything, I'm like, I've come down like significantly. My body's like was eating itself. I'm puking blood. I'm not as strong as I was, but I've got to do all this over again. And it's a quick turnaround. I don't have the luxury of going back to the gym and resting and getting back in shape and going for these long comfortable runs or swims. Right? It's like I got to get back on the saddle and do this again. And it's like that right there is like. So that was the only time I thought about quitting, is when I'm like just cruising around thinking about all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like this is gonna be the like the hardest class. And it was, but it was like, I thought about like my options, what would I do if I quit? And it's like that none of that sounds good. I was like, all right, so what do I want to do? It's like, I want to be a SEAL, right? It's like that was always the goal. Well, how do I do that? I got to get back on the horse and go.